Can you believe an architecture student booking a chowltree to do his thesis project? Strange, isn't it? This same architecture student worked under Jaisam sir, also slept in the sites of Kannade brothers and learnt a lot from the masters, and then evolved to become an eco-conscious architect. Let's dive into his thought process and come, let's have a wonderful conversation with him. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. To talk about my experience, one experience is while working on thesis, I used to work either at home or at college. I used to hear my friends telling they used to work in hostel, couple of them, 3 to 4 people sitting on their sheets and working. But you took your thesis on another level, booked a chowltree for that. 2 to 3 months you worked on your thesis. Students across Bangalore coming to that place.
Where do you get this story from?
That's a research.
Okay.
So you working with students, people coming there, teachers coming there, you having healthy discussions. How was that phenomenal experience? I'm not able to even visualize that because I'm so restricted to this place to this place. And
Awesome. Do you know what my thesis topic was? Does the research go there?
yes,
Okay. Tell me what was the thesis topic.
the working of cube or something.
That was basically what is the cube.
What is the cube? Yeah.
So that was my thesis. And at some points of time, there were almost 35 people working on my
That too,
studio.
About a cube, 35 people are working. We used to work like on some huge project, 1 or 2 we were struggling doing 35 people. How was that experience? How could you gather so many people to working into a project, having discussion? Because getting students to one class itself is a huge challenge these days. You gathering so many people and having healthy discussion. That's
No, it was learning then was very different. Learning then was, look, I come from a college where I was the first batch student and I had no faculties. Of course, the faculties were there. They were amazing guys who gave me the freedom to do what I really wanted to push and learn. So I learned from working with various theses, working with seniors. First time I remember I worked on Nagaraj Vastare's thesis. So he was doing a thesis on Gavipuram Guttalli. So all I did there was filling up the ink in the lettering case, in the title box. So getting a rotary pen and fill it in. And I learned about cleaning a rotary pen or making a tree for a model. And slowly you learned from seniors continuously. To a certain level, that every 6 months I used to work on somebody's thesis. And somewhere in the 4th year, 5th year, I was already a thesis manager. So I was working with somebody who was doing a renovation of the Victoria Terminus in Mumbai.
okay.
So I remember sitting down and working on his thesis for almost 4 nights continuously, doing a cut axonometric hand drawn of the Victoria Terminus.
Oh God. Okay.
It was crazy fun, right? These interactions were very critical. These interactions, that's where I said Hampi's Center for Design is a center for design dialogue. Because this dialogue is what makes people think. Design inspiration can happen internally. But for that internal activity to happen, you need to have dialogues. You need to have some space for you to think and throw out. Right? So, why do a lot of teachers teach? It is not because they have knowledge. It is because that space allows them to think and express it out. And then they go back to the office and work on it.
Okay.
But that's where the fun is. Right? So, of course, during college I was a famous boy. So, we had a lot of students from all over colleges from Bangalore, BIT, BMS, UVC, Tumkur, SIT Tumkur, MS Ramaya. In fact, a few students from Academy of Architecture, Mumbai.
Good, okay.
They all we all used to have fun. I mean, it was all about, then it was Mirinda, large 2 liter bottle was 13 rupees. So you get around 5 bottles of Mirinda and then sit down.
Potato chips.
Potato chips, and you sit down and dialogue and discuss and ideate and question issues, read articles, dialogue on those articles. It was not very little about drawing on the project. Then somebody used to come, youngsters used to come, okay, do the model. So I ended up doing a model which was almost 10 feet by 5 feet by some 3-4 feet. We had to take it in a lorry to the college for a jury. So that was the kind of learning which happened throughout, right? So everybody participated, everybody questioned, worked on it. It was fun. So it was not my thesis. So at one time I told everyone I'm not taking the jury tomorrow. And then they kind of really sat on me and said, no, you're going to do it, we're going to do it. So you end up getting back to the scope. It was fun.
Was it accepted at the end of the day? Because what were the outcomes that through that thesis topic? What is the cube? Few outcomes, maybe 3 to 4 lines.
So finally, look, you dialogue about the symbolism of the cube. You dialogue about the geometry of the cube. You dialogue about cube as a space, cube as a form, cube as an experience, right? So there were exercises on how can I express the cube in the most minimalist of form, minimalist of lines.
Right.
How can I express the cube as a very minimalist of architectural expressions? These are all exercises which we did. And finally ended up designing a township, a housing project, and all. But that activity was a byproduct. The design was a byproduct. What was important was the thought behind each of those lines which are drawn.
Okay. So this was pure learning.
Yes.
You were learning from students talking to you, all this. And you thought for your first years when you were in 4th year. That is, I think this is all pure learning. And after a point of time, you became a faculty and taught as a visiting faculty to the students. That's a faculty learning. So
I started teaching when I was in 3rd year.
Okay, not 4th. Okay.
When I was in 3rd year, I used to take the first year classes.
So that's learning through teachers, faculty. What is the difference you see between a peer learning and faculty learning? What is the difference and what is best out of these two?
Okay. If you really look at it, you look at the work a student produces for a jury versus the work which a student produces for a NASA trophy. Which is powerful?
NASA trophy.
Why?
Because they are having
because they don't have anybody to answer to. Right? Faculty learning always has a axe on their head. Marks, attendance, toilet door, line thickness. Whereas a NASA trophy does not have that axe on their head. It's about pure joy, it's about pure participation. And that's where you learn. That's where you completely involve into the design process.
So who is the axe here? The faculty or the management or
the system?
System.
Say if I have to talk about BASE, which was run by Shankar Kanade, Navnath Kanade, Sanjay Mohesar. They used to allow us to come. They used to put up one projector, one image, and they used to have a dialogue on that image for hours together. And that is where we learned. Right? And say, for example, when Jaisim sir was building Seyar Simha's house, or not Seyar Simha's house, his brother's. So when he was designing a house where it was rock, and I just walked into that space, fell in love with that space, started living there in that house during construction. You learn every aspect of that construction, or going and staying in Keremane, which was being designed by Navnath and Shen, and staying there, literally when they were building, learning systems. That's how learning happens. Today you can't because the semester is squeezed. 3 months you have to over-deliver. There's hundreds of things. We had an annual scheme where you had 6 subjects, 1 full year to do. And at the end of the year you toss whether to go to the exam or go out. And we end up going to the chai shop rather than attending exam. That freedom is important.
How to initiate, as students, how to initiate conversations with their seniors or their juniors, because of course, when compared to my time, when I see my juniors, that's a bit like, of course, my immediate juniors were good with us, But the conversations between the seniors and juniors, though it happens, it's only a limited, not actually sitting together, having dialogue, having conversations for hours. It's become rare. How to initiate that conversation and how
That's what we think actually.
okay.
It's not the case. It's not the case because I think I always had this problem with Gen Z. They're not involved.
Okay.
They're not committed to what they're supposed to deliver and all this stuff. And then post what happened in Nepal, the revolution, I started questioning. I think these guys, Gen Z guys, are willing to do what they want to do. They question and believe what is right for them, and they work on it. Okay, these are strong principles which we propagate, but when they do it, we kind of look at it as an objection. All right. So I think the way these kids are really looking at life is at a very different level. So I will not take away and say that they're not involved. Their way of learning, their way of expression is much different. Today, I'm able to get more knowledge through my phone or through my app than I can get from a college. Right? The learning systems have changed, but the methodology has not changed in the college. Today, it's not about knowledge. Today, I don't have to learn anything in college. I have to learn the skills required for us to survive in college. But if I have to learn how to build a barrel vault, I can get a video on that right now. If I want to learn about something else, I get a video on that. I get learnings from that. Today, it's even going a little further and say, all I need to do is give a prompt and try and make it understand what I want, what I'm thinking in my head, and can it evolve? So definitely the way we learning is changing, and it will definitely make a difference in the coming years. I was lucky to be in a formative year where computer just shifted our lives, right? When I was in the first few years of my college, there were no computers. Last 2-3 years, suddenly there was computers in college, and life was changing. And I was a part of that shift. I didn't get into software though, but I could have made money. But now is another such shift which is happening in life, and this is much more major, where the intelligence is computerized. We start living in the system, right? So I think they are learning in that way. Their dialogues are happening with the computer. Their dialogues are happening with ChatGPT.
Okay, maybe we didn't have that dialogue, so that is why we
Yes.
used to have a dialogue with them.
Could be.
Now,
Yes, and they're getting much better knowledge. It's like talking to ChatGPT is like talking to a professor. No?
okay.
A very high PhD, somebody who's done a lot of research.
But how relevant, how applicable are they? Because AI is just a technology. It doesn't have that emotion factor towards it, whereas human connect has that emotion.
Why do you think they don't have emotions?
No, not the students.
No, I'm talking about AI.
AI.
Why do you think it does not have emotions? If emotions can be measured, can be broken down into data sets, AI has a capacity to understand those data sets and recreate.
So AI is a threat?
It will. It will. Look, trust me, by the end of our lives, Homo sapiens would not be Homo sapiens the way we see ourselves as. They would change. And change is inevitable. That's the rule of nature. And this time, we are bringing that change. Mankind is bringing that change. And the way we lead our lives will not be the same as the way we lead our lives all these years. I mean, you look at what happened post-industrial revolution, where suddenly everything was available. Suddenly your learning was increased. You see what happened when computers came in, when everything was on a display system, right? Today we have smartwatches which tell me whether I'm having my BP high or whether my whatever. We're changing, and so is AI. The speed at which AI is evolving, it's humongous. Look at it, man. Ask AI to write a poetry. expressing your a love for your girlfriend, of course, it'll give you a much better poetry than you can write.
What will happen to the artists who are, writers or artists? It's sketching. Even AI is sketching. AI is throwing out poems. What will happen to these people then, according to you?
There'll be a change of way of working, change of way of thinking. When did art come? When I say art, okay, when do I get realistic art? When did I come out with abstract art? Each of these art processes became an expression of that particular time, right? So if I'm really looking at art of the 18th century, which was very realistic, and you come to the 19th century, they were very abstract. You come to late 19th or early 20th century, you talked about cubism and things like that. Picasso and all those people came in. Today it might be, tomorrow it might be prompt art. And after the AI dies, something else might come out.
Okay.
So it will change. Of course, it will change. People will look at new ways of expressing themselves.
I think that's a good way of looking at things, like optimistic way of thinking, because we kind of crib about it, but you see it in a different way. That's
Yeah, I mean, look, boss, let me be honest. As an architect, where do I spend 90% of my time? Doing working drawings.
yeah, yeah.
As an architect, what should I spend my time on?
Designing,
Thinking,
thinking.
coming out with ideas. If the computer can do that for me, can generate those working drawings for me, which can be executed at site, why should I spend my time on drafting plans?
What about thinking? If the AI is also doing
It will, it has.
uh,
It has. That is where I say when you want to give it a prompt,
uh,
it will change the way we work. Of course, we need to really relook at the way. Look, there is a challenge for a lot of professions, no doubt. There was a challenge for agriculture when the tractor was invented, right? But some of them used it and moved ahead, made a difference to the way they. So there will be a change in the way architects will work. There will be a change in the way urban designers will work. A change in the way graphic designers or product designers, any of those will work, or even surgeons will work. There will be a change in the way, and that change right now will be driven by AI.
so talking about your practice, you started your practice in very early days, like maybe very after few time after you graduated. That's what I understanding is. And it was difficult for you to get initially the projects. So, and of course, because you were working, you worked with Jason sir before, you did collaborate with few people. That's there. But in society like India, where men are the money earners, when you didn't have projects in your hand, how was your mental state like? Because you're not getting projects, you are an architect, you did work with Jason sir, and you're not getting projects in hand. What was your family's reaction, and what was going through your mind? Even if family supports, the society speaks, why is your son not earning, all that? What was your mental thought process then, and how did you deal with it?
Frankly, the state where you said the first project to almost 20 years down the line, which was 20 years later, in my 20th year of practice, I was in the same state.
20 years.
Yes. Because I don't think at any space I was pressurized for money.
Okay, you were not.
I was not pressurized for money. In the sense, we didn't have humongous life goals. The passion was purely architecture. You wanted to do something interesting in architecture. The passion was never driven towards something else, about having a car or house. Yeah, your basic needs were being addressed, and with the money I was getting, it was being addressed. That's a big mistake I did. Because we were never taught the business of money, business of architecture. It is a passion driven profession, no doubt. When you compare it to any other profession, it is highly driven by passion. But at the same time, you need to understand that it has a business model attached to it. There are team members who are working with you, who are dependent on you, who have their own life, personal goals and things like that. So I think 20 years later is when I really questioned, and I got myself a mentor to help me out, to really relook at how I can work with the business of architecture. You're not compromising on your principles of design. You're not compromising on your ethics, but you're really putting into place a process, a structure, a system for you to really understanding what the business of architecture means. How can I impact more people having a much better lifestyle? So I think anybody needs to go through that process. So for me, like you said, what I was in the first few years until I got my project versus what I was 20 years later when I had a son who was almost 15, 16 years old, or a teenage son, it didn't matter to me. We had our basic needs uh, taken care of.
Did you ever feel that why did I take up architecture?
No, I don't.
And because you were into like you had conversations at your home about theaters, you were into theaters, you were an Yakshagana dancer, performer. That was an appreciated art before, very appreciated. If did you ever feel I should have continued there, and what am I doing here?
No, I don't think so. I think, let me be honest, I didn't know what architecture was when I joined in architecture. I joined in architecture because I slept in my second PUC examination and I didn't get the required marks to become a doctor.
See,
That's
even I
my
wanted to become a
story.
doctor, right?
That's the story of me joining architecture.
Okay.
Well, somebody told me I'll join architecture, some college. But I think in the journey of learning what architecture meant, by working with your seniors, by interacting with wonderful architects like Karande sir or Jaisim sir or Padilkar, late Padilkar sir, or you fall in love with the process. I strongly believe that somebody who's an artist has a better way of understanding a parallel art like architecture. If you can understand rhythm, if you can understand storytelling, you're able to understand certain narratives of the architectural expression. And architecture, at the end of the day, is an art of storytelling, telling stories through spaces, through light, through various such things. So, how do you narrate a story? So, at the same time, I think that's there. Fortunately, I mean, we've always had an artist family associated. My wife is also a dancer. My in-laws were actors.
So, what were the initial difficulties? Because nowadays, many students immediately after graduating they want to jump into practice. So, could you tell us the three major difficulties that they have to go through and how can they solve it as young architects as soon as they enter into the practice?
First rule I would say is don't jump into practice as soon as you finish school. Very critical. Very, very critical. Don't jump into practice immediately after you finish your course. Because you would have realized during internship that the course never keeps you ready for the profession. It gives you certain skills which will help you in the profession, but will not give you enough knowledge or the depth, because ours is not just an art based activity. Ours is a realistic activity. Ours is something which is very powerful, is where you bring to life dreams of people. Right? That's where I keep telling in all my talks that my job as an architect is to enhance a person's dream of having a house, and how to enhance that experience of having that dream. And that's been the journey for me. So it's a very you're entering into a very personal space of your client to create. So it's difficult for you to get in that zone when you just get out of college. So don't jump into practice immediately, because you'll be committing a lot of errors, a lot of issues. You'll have to learn things on the go. I'm telling you from my experience. I jumped into profession early, and I know what it has costed me. So I think first thing is learn with a mentor, work with a mentor. It's fine. Architecture is a highly profitable business. it is, when you put it, work with passion, you do the best for the client, it is highly profitable. Thing I would definitely see is if and after you practice with an intern for some time, you want to start. Understand that there are different divisions in your practice, which all needs continuous activities. It could be about communicating your thought to your clients. It could be about building systems for operating. It could be building system for documenting revenues. Everything needs to have continuously work.
So I'm curious about this one project in which you had done in North Karnataka. You said some temperature measurement guy came in. He put the temperature and he saw 15 degrees Celsius drop. It was so cooler. In North Karnataka, I think many people know it is too hot. So 15 degrees Celsius, how is that possible for a building to, I've heard like few degrees Celsius, but 50 degrees Celsius, how did you achieve that? And can you tell about how the measurement happened? How?
Right. Somehow there are a lot of elements which you look at when you design for climate. Right. It could be the material you use. It could be the way you use spaces. To say, for example, in a hot and dry climate, like this place is called Ilkal, very famous for Ilkal sarees, where the way you allow air to come through compressed openings, enter into a garden space, and then enter the house. And there are stack effects to remove the hot air from the top.
Okay.
And the stack effect is also, we looked at the wind tunnel, but the reverse wind tower from most of the hot and dry places, where you curve the wind tunnel so that it becomes an exhaust rather than an intake. So you looked at various such things.
Okay.
Where the western wall, southern wall were thick stone walls, and after the stone walls was the garden and then the space. So you use those kind of systems to come in here. We did this and we found that it was much cooler on the inside of the place, and the client started complaining that if somebody visitors come in, they don't go out of the house. So that is their complaint. So I think what happened was, one of the students who was working with us went to do her masters in I think in France.
Okay.
And there, as a part of her course, she took this as a case study. And they sent in some 10 or 15 thermometers which took measurements every 15 minutes of the day.
Oh, okay.
For almost 15 days, both outside as well as inside the different places.
Okay.
So that cumulative difference which we got there was 15 degrees, right? So that was actually a part of a study for a master's degree program.
Okay. An architect can actually make a difference. So this was the first segment.
Awesome.
So we have second segment where we have a couple of them asking questions to you. So we'll ask that question.
Sure.
When you travel, what do you really see? As an architect, do you look at buildings, people, or the space between them? How do you absorb a space, not as a tourist, but as a student or an architect?
Right. I think the words I need to really look at are, there are two words. To see / to observe.
Okay.
Okay. To see is just to have that momentary happiness of wow, right? To observe is to go into depth. And when you do that as a travel person, and if you're good at it, document it. Through a sketch, through a photograph, through whatever mediums you're able to communicate that thought. Try and document it. And that helps us relook at things. In fact, when I say, I'll tell you a story of travel. I wanted to see Jeffrey Baba's work. And I just put up on Facebook, then Facebook was there, Instagram was not there. I just put up on Facebook saying that I'm going to Jeffrey Baba's work, to see Jeffrey Baba's work. Love to see it with fellow architects. Anyone is interested, please let me know.
Which place was this, sir?
Jeffrey Baba, Sri Lanka.
Okay.
So I got some 70 people saying I want to attend to the tour with you. What happened because of that was I did 7 tours to Jeffrey Baba's works.
Wow.
And I did 3 tours to Tado Ando's work in Japan.
Wow.
Right? So here what was powerful was that you go in, you see things, you observe, you document, you come back, and in the evening, there's 20-30 people who've gone for the tour. We sit down and exchange notes and different viewpoints of the way you looked at the space. So in the first trip, we had Chitra Vishwanath, we had people, some very senior architects joining us, somebody from Hyderabad, then we had Sanjay from Pune, Sanjeev from Pune. So all of them had very different ways of looking at Baba's work. Somebody was looking at detail, somebody was looking at geometry, somebody was looking at proportion, somebody was looking at quality of space, somebody was looking at color. So in the evening you look at everybody, and next day you go and observe it from their eyes. So you have a very, very different way of observing things, not seeing, observing things. Right? So it even helped students who was part of that tour. So students suddenly moved from seeing to observing.
Right.
And that made a whole world of a difference for them.
Right. Very interesting. Just a personal question. When are you conducting next tour, sir?
No, I'm actually thinking of. I'm doing a tour actually next week. I'm off.
Okay.
It's a very fun tour.
Okay.
I don't know where I'm going.
Okay, you don't know that also.
I don't know where I'm going.
Okay.
I'm going with 34 people. And I don't know who those 34 people are.
Wow.
I'm going to go to the airport and I'm going to be given a ticket. I will know only when I go to the airport where I'm going. And the organizers have told me there is also a connecting flight. So I don't know where I'm going even when I go to the airport.
Oh, interesting. So you don't know who the 34 people are?
I don't know who those 34 people are.
Interesting.
So it's fun. So yeah, of course we are looking at organizing more such trips now. But
then I would definitely.
Oh yes. We're looking at mostly the Silk Road part. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan.
Okay. What was the first image or feeling you had when you heard about a school like Orinco? Was it a concept, a material, or a moment of how children would experience the space? That's a wonderful building. So I would love to hear about it as the person.
I think more than the kid, what really inspired me was the couple who ran that school.
Okay.
Anup and Chetan. I think they came with such passion. And they reciprocated a lot of things which I was thinking as education, which is about learning by doing, learning by failing, right? And that's very important. So let me be honest, okay? We've done calculus in college. We've done a lot of biology in college. What are we using in our daily lives today?
Almost.
I'm talking about, I'm not talking as an architect, but if I'm talking as let's say as an IT professional, as a doctor, or as any other profession, how much of that really dictates the way we work, or even a CA? So I think what are the subjects we need to learn has to change. Right? It could be the way creative thinking, critical thinking, community activities. Those are things which will build skill sets for us. Today, knowledge, I'd say, is available over the touch of a button. You don't need knowledge. You ask my son who is in his 10th standard, the highest of astrophysics questions, he'll be able to answer it within a minute. Because he has ChatGPT, he has Google, he has all those things available for him. Chetan and Anup were brilliant in their way of approach. So this whole idea then when I said they were actually running a school in a house, in a 3-bedroom house. And when I asked them, should your school have walls? They said, no, we don't want walls. But we need safety for kids. So what basically happened was rooms opening into courtyards. So a classroom which was happening across the other side of the courtyard could see what's happening on this side of the courtyard. If somebody is exploring, learning fire by burning something, the kids used to run and attend that class. If somebody was breaking down a motorcycle and converting into a go-karting stuff, people used to come and participate. Makerspace became the core of the subject. So this was what dictated the school part. The kindergarten part, which is where the fun element was something where I questioned whether the building should be a toy for the kid to look at. And what better than to really look at the symbolism of a egg hatching, because the kindergarten is something where a child gets out of his home and comes into the space.
Right.
So can I look at that symbolism and integrate that into what I learned through biomimicry, where I was learning from shells, and create a large volume space of 40 feet, create a column free space for kids to run around inside and make it look like a play item. So that was the journey which we went into that space. And it's a fantastic space. It's a fantastic space. And it is not a own land, so it was a lease land. So we questioned, can this building be moved? So we designed a building which can be moved 6 times. So that whole 20,000 square feet of building can be shifted, moved around 6 times.
Oh, nice. Okay, I just wrote about the kindergarten school, the shell thing. I just wrote small note about it. Orinco School, just a school? No, I call it as a mystic space of learning. Mornings start with sunlight slipping through the shells, touching books, tracing through young minds, landing softly on bright oxide floors. It's a building that listens, learns, grows, and teaches.
Awesome. Thank you.
So,
thank you, that's lovely.
Next question is from a thesis student. Hello, sir. I'm working on my thesis project right now. I have my jury in few days. What is that I need to focus on my project and curate it with respect to jury and beyond for my portfolio?
I think I'm just out of a thesis jury right now.
Okay.
So I think what is very critical in a thesis level jury, especially at the undergraduate level, we always assume scale is the most important thing. But I think a thought is the most important thing in a thesis. So I could manage to get through with studying a cube and designing a space out of it. But the thought of how you want to express your learning of architecture is very critical. And that defines the project you're going to work on. Right? Okay. That dictates the way you'll work. So if you can bring that in, at the same time, if it's a small scale project, how deep are you going in? A thesis starts with a T, right? You go wide first, you talk about philosophies at large, and you go into depth along the trunk of a T into understanding and exploring one particular detail and expressing that. So a thesis could be about a toilet, but you need to go deep into that. You need to know every element of that and talk about it. So if you're at the end of your thesis, if you're an expert in toilet design, you're a master there. If it's about philosophy, it's about abstraction, fine. You go into depth there and then start working.
But curriculum doesn't allow.
It will, it does. Very frankly, it does. You look at the VTU curriculum, it does. It's a very open-ended curriculum.
Okay.
The mindset which is stopping that.
Okay. So this is my personal question that I forgot to ask you. You question a lot. When it comes to biomimicry, I see you questioning a lot. Very detailed, very depth. How do you think we can inculcate that art of questioning? Because I am a writer, so it is a personal question too. How do I inculcate that art of questioning?
That is where I said the difference between seeing and observing. Right? Seeing is momentary, but observing is questioning, reacting, assimilating, thinking. Right? So you need to observe. Whether it's an object, whether it's an insect, whether it's a bird, or whether it's a problem. Right? So I use this very interesting example in definition of a problem statement. We have something called a 5-eye process. There was a guy who was always late to office on a Monday morning. So the boss asked him, You are very punctual on all the days of the week. Why are you always late on a Monday morning? So the guy says, so thinking that he'll help the guy to solve that time thing. The guy says, I fill up my fuel on a Monday morning and then I come to office. So he thinks that solving the problem of filling the gas might help us get him on time. So he says, why do you fill it on a Monday morning? Why can't you fill it on a Sunday night or a Saturday night? Or even a Friday evening when you're going back from work? Said, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm sloshed. I go out with friends, I drink, I party, and I'm sloshed. So I don't have time or the mindset to fill a fuel. Then he again questions, why do you get lost on the weekends? What is it that... And he says, I can't stand the bragging of my wife in the house. Right? So what is the problem you want to solve? Is it about filling fuel? Or is it about the family issue? So the problem which needs to be solved is about the relationship issue. Right? So that is about observing and questioning and going into deeper understanding of what the core problem is, core problem you want to address. And that you bring down and try and solve.
That's really nice, sir. We are done with second segment also.
Awesome.
So this segment is rapid fire kind of thing, one-liner answers only. The segment is sponsored by one of my friends who run a studio called as Ape Studios. So A stands for architecture, P stands for products, E stands for expedition. They do travel, they used to do. So we have a product of theirs, which is a sketchbook. So they wanted me to give it to you. So
thank you. Fantastic. Thank you.
So yeah.
All the best, Ape Studio.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So yeah, I will tell you a word from nature, like a product or a animal from nature, and you tell the biomimicry application, how we can think about it, how we can learn from it.
I'll make a statement and then I'll try and answer. When you look at biomimicry, and is something which is biology to design.
Right.
Could be certain features of theirs, or it could be their thinking process. And how do you take it forward into a design language?
That is what I want.
Is what biomimicry is all about.
Ape.
So ape is jumping around ideas.
Okay. Fish.
Fish. Ability for a building to breathe through its skin.
Wow. Okay. Butterfly.
There is no example of structured color using morpho butterfly, where morpho butterfly actually colors, structured colors is about the way it reflects light. So is it possible for us to learn from a butterfly to design walls which could change colors when light falls on it?
Okay. Banyan tree.
Structural systems which could be not focused on a central zone, but there is a central spine, and then having lateral roots hanging from the top slabs holding back into the systems below.
Okay. Fire.
Boy, that's a very powerful question. Very powerful question. The hottest is in the center.
No.
So, I don't know, I think it could be about cooling a building, the very anti of what fire stands for, by understanding the different tones or colors, and how do you look at the tones of colors, and how do you bring in understanding heating and cooling of a building using fire as an example.
Okay. An ant.
I would definitely want to learn from its skeletal structures so that I can carry 10,000 times my self weight.
There's follow-up question is, I think you said somewhere your management of HCD works on the anthill.
Not on the anthill, it's a beehive.
Beehive. Okay.
It works in the system of beehive.
Okay.
In fact, my office is also being built. The system is being built on a beehive concept.
Okay.
Beehive is nothing but cells, hexagonal cells, which are individual by itself, but it is a part of the whole equation. So if there is marketing in my thing, if there's, say for example in HCD, we're looking at biomimicry as one cell, you're looking at craft as another cell, you're talking about designing toys which are for Humpy as another cell, publication is another cell, School of Museum Arts is another cell. So all of these cells work, but they are all part of a whole ecosystem.
So that's about the third segment. So the final question from my side. So this is a phrase from one of your interviews, and I would love to know more about it in depth. I want to design a building where after a certain age, it can go back into the earth, not recycle, but a loop by itself. It should become a process or food for something else. And I'll be happy if I create a building that can kill itself or die. A building that can die? What does it mean? Can you elaborate?
Now, what's the life of a building?
Maybe 100 years.
Let's assume it's 100 years. What's the life of a man's imagination? Of a space.
It depends.
Of a space. Today, a house is being demolished after 20-25 years.
Right.
So, a life of a building actually is 25 years. If you really look at it. Right? What happens when it dies? When I say it dies, it falls down.
Yeah,
they bring it down.
Right.
What happens to it? It's part of a landfill. Yeah. Now, what happens to a leaf? A leaf which is just sprouted is rich in green, high on chlorophyll, starts absorbing sunlight, creating food for the plant, grows, ages, and the plant decides to remove its resources of chlorophyll from the leaf and turns it into brown. Now, it has removed its resources, important resources. The leaf falls down, gets eaten by ants, nutrients, microbes, becomes nitrogen fixers for the ground, becomes food for another cycle, becomes food for another process, allows the tree to grow further. So you see a cycle of things happening. Right? So is it possible for me to really look at a building from the perspective of not just spaces, but even in terms of materials? So that when it reaches 25-30 years, there's a certain degradation of its own self, which becomes food for something else. If I leave an iron rod exposed, it becomes food for a cyclical process. It rusts and it corrodes and becomes food for something else. But what we do is we throw it into a landfill. And because it's composed with a lot of things, decomposition never happens.
Right.
I'm just giving you an example of steel. So today, there are enough microbes to eat plastics. Even though we all complain about plastics, today, without plastic, our life would have been miserable. You never have flights. You'll never have such speed cars. You'll never have a lot of things which are comfortable for us. Nature has found an answer for it. It has taken its time, but found an answer, created bacteria which can eat those plastics. But you need to create the space for the bacteria to come and eat that plastic. But if I put it along with concrete, if I put it along with steel, if I put it along with glass, then it does not work. So is it possible for me to really relook at the way our buildings are designed? Say for example, this office was an add-on to an old building. But what we did with this thing was that if I'm demolishing this building in the next 10 years or 15 years because of its age, it's almost a 100-year-old building, because of the age, because of deterioration and all things, if I bring down this building, whatever I built additional need not go into a landfill. 99% of it can be reused for some other construction.
Okay.
it's a steel frame. I know it's not a continuous cyclical process. I would definitely want to go there. But everything out here can be reused into something else. Be it the wooden floor, the metal frame, the panels on the wood, which is a byproduct of product rubber. Everything can be reused into something else for some more time. Right? But my best thing is, can it become an infinite loop?
Okay.
Can I create buildings which can become an infinite loop of being eaten and used and become food for something else and becomes another cycle by itself? Then I've succeeded as an architect. That is in terms of materials. I can even go deeper into quality of space, quality of geometry, everything to start looking at it from that cyclical process.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm really honored. I'm really happy that this was. I was nervous when I came here, but sitting with you, it was a vibe that I felt comfortable by my own, and it really felt like a conversation more than a podcast for me. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. It was wonderful interacting, I think.
Thank you.
All the very best, and
Thank
I'm
you,
sure
sir.
this will grow much bigger.
Yeah.
All the very best for you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. That's it for today's conversation. I hope you guys loved the episode. I enjoyed talking with him. So I hope we have more wonderful conversation with more number of architects. For hearing them speak, do subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like our videos and stay tuned to Writearchi.